Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Welcome to This Side of the Gate. Tonight we have a wonderful guest. It's Mr. Von Braschler, and he is the author of so many books, some of which my favorites are The 7 Secrets of Time Travel, A Magical Journal, and Natural Pet Healing, and my absolute favorite, Confessions of a Reluctant Ghost Hunter. Please welcome to This Side of the Gate, Mr. Von Braschler. Hello, Vaughn.
Hi, Cisco.
Hi.
Thank you for inviting me to your side of the gate.
Oh, it's wonderful. It can be just a wondrous side over here. We're just learning all different things. One of our biggest things here is what's on the other side of the gate. Let's find out together. Let's take all of the spooky out of it. And I think you do that in wondrous ways. I really do.
Thanks, I try.
Oh, yeah, and it's very magical, is it not? I mean, when you start to understand a little bit about the energy and, that we really are energy, it really does seem to take a lot of that scary out of it. And I just think this new book is wonderful.
We're filled with magic. Magic is everywhere around us and inside of us. You can't get away from it. And it's like you say, well, what is magic? It's just simply transformation. Mm-hmm. It's taking something and making it something else. There's magic everywhere.
Isn't that fantastic? And what a wonderful way to look at life. You were talking to a friend of mine. You were doing another interview not too long ago, and I heard, and I know this is probably not the path you expected, but let's just roll the dice here. You were talking about something wonderful, and you were talking about the elephants. Do you remember that? Oh, the elephants, well, and how they
mourn death.
Yes,
mourn death. Yes. That's how I first started to write the book that I just came out with, Moving in the Light.
Beautiful.
And Deb, it's a Deb Bennett story, and how she transitioned from life into physical death. And when she first opened to my house as a roommate, she came into my room and she said, "What are you doing?" Mm-hmm. It was the first book I was going to write, and she said, I'm gonna call it something about, I don't know, moving in the light. She says, "What the heck's that about?" I said, "Do you know that elephants mourn death? Many animals mourn death, and it's profound. Mm-hmm. It's mystical, mm-hmm. and it's transformational." She said, "Wow." And then 6 months later, she was dead. So we would kind of do this whole experience with her of the transition, mm-hmm. and what it means. And at the end, I think I understood a lot more about time travel and life and death.
Right. And you've kind of been in this just for so long. For the listeners who are not familiar, tell us a little bit about, you used to be an editor, were you not?
Yeah. I was a mountain editor. And I had some kind of crazy experiences up on the mountain, and some of them involved ghosts and earthbound spirits and entities, and some of them involved shifts where I'd be like walking and then suddenly I'd be somewhere else. So I became very aware early on that there were multiple realities, and that the reality of our physical existence, the way most people experience it, is simply the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say that we only use just so much. We're caught in this now. In a lot of ways, we're stuck in the now, and there's so much more to the now once you start opening your mind. It really is true. I just thought it's such an interesting thing with you. I just love to watch how people fall into their path. And I think yours is one of those interesting stories, because you just kind of fell into it when you needed to. It was amazing.
Well, I did experience living in the now, and living in the now is an amazing thing, but I have to tell people, in all honesty, the more I look at it, living in the now is just a step to getting somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like slowing the whole world down. It's like you can't live and grow in the now. The now is very stagnant. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and I think there's a whole movement now, this mindfulness movement, that's very, very dead end. And I just have to warn people getting stuck there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely true. Like you said, there's so much magic, and I hang out with an awful lot of adults that are just in the same mindset. It's just, it's there. It's all around you. Just, you call it whatever you want to call it. The little miracles that happen, interaction with animals, whether it's, that's like a big part of my day. I do a lot of helping nature. I live right on the edge of a wildlife refuge. So they all come to me.
Wonderful.
Oh, how I got so lucky. I really got so lucky. And they come to me. They bring me their ducklings, and they bring me the geese that get pushed out of the flock. They somehow find me. I was just out there. I make them cooked rice and vegetables and stuff, and she trusts me so much. And I'm like, little girl, I'm gonna get you through this. It's just amazing. And a Native American, I come from a Native American background, and watching the animals, you go to anything tribal, Vaughn, whether it's old Japanese culture or Chinese culture or Tibetan, or they so connected with the earth, and they learn so much from watching animals. That's why I think the thinking about the elephants just really, it almost brought a tear to my eye that that you noticed that. I was one of those kids who could never go to the circus. I think I couldn't
sad.
do it. I couldn't do it.
I watched the animals in behind bars at the zoo, and I cried.
I did too.
It's just wrong.
I know. It's so, and everybody would try to tell me, well, they're saving them, and I'm like, he doesn't look saved. He looks sad.
If you love them, let them go.
Absolutely.
It's like the orcas. I come from essentially the Pacific Northwest, and I spend every extra time I have out there in nature. And the orcas, they had them, they captured them, cruelly captured them, illegally captured them, inhumanely captured them. They brought them to shows like SeaWorld and others.
Right.
And then now finally, like SeaWorld, for instance, they said, okay, we're going to let the orcas go. But, they said, but they can't go back. They can't go back because they've lived their whole life in captivity. Mm-hmm. So how would they do? So they're putting them in an estuary, a penned area, which is much better than the original tanks at the show, but it's still captivity. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you have to let them go.
Right. I was never so happy when I saw them releasing all the elephants. Oh, I cry. I mean, it's just amazing. I guess, in a lot of ways, you're probably an empath. I think we all really are. And I know I've always been an animal empath. I couldn't go to the puppy pound or anything like that because I can feel the fear and the anxiety, and it's just awful. I got in trouble once. You're going to laugh. I can't believe I'm even telling the story, but my mom was very sick, and she had cancer, and we moved in with this lady. She became a caretaker for each other, really. And she lived on a farm, and I'd never lived on a working farm before, and she raised rabbits. And I used to go feed the rabbits and, play with the rabbits, and it was just a lovely little place to go and just escape everything. And one night I was in bed and I overheard her talking that all the rabbits were going to go to the furrier.
Yeah.
And that was it. I snuck out of the room in the middle of the night in bare feet. And I was about 10. And I went all the way out to the rabbit hutch and I let them all go.
It's like killing the Jodie Foster movie.
Yes.
Yeah, the lamb. Yeah.
I let them all go, and I chased them off I got in so much trouble, and the whole time I was punished. I was just laughing because most of them got away.
Well, it's a difficult situation. Because people eat meat, and I've been known to eat meat. I don't eat a lot of it, but I've given up hunting because I've actually come eye to eye with deer, and you'll understand with your Native American background. But I think I actually exchanged souls with this animal. I was actually in this animal for a minute, and he was inside me.
Right.
And we looked, even though we were far away, we looked, well, I was looking at a scope,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking at him, and I couldn't put the rifle down fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I just live every day thinking of that animal, and I think of all the fish I've caught and how the school of fish would come with it, because every member of that school or that herd or that pack is important to them.
Right.
And it's important in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. And it's so natural. And we talk about this all the time on the gate, because it's just, letting go. We're talking about our intuition. We talk about, not going into that. If you don't want to go into that elevator, don't go. Don't talk yourself out of it.
That's right.
Animals don't talk themselves out of it, and how they transition. We had Rob Guttrow on, and he's an animal. He deals a lot with animal spirits. And one of the things that upsets him the most is when they say the animals don't have any kind of a soul. They don't.
Oh
they don't
gosh,
go.
I know.
And
I hate that.
Oh, I hate it too. And it's just, I look into those eyes and I see a soul. And I have an awful lot of people who listen to this show who are caretakers. I was thinking about it today, listening to your story on another interview, and I'm thinking, gosh, all the amount of people that are sitting by the bedside right now helping a loved one through this transition, and through a sickness.
That's how we grow spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Helping up each other, connecting to spirit. You connect to spirit, and spirit connects back to you.
Right.
It's like a reciprocating
It
thing.
absolutely is, and it's connecting into that energy. And I just think that this book is wonderful. Moving in the Light is the new one, and it's just a wonderful story of connecting into somebody you're giving care to, whether it be somebody with a cold or somebody who's passing. Either way, you're helping someone who cannot help themselves, at the time, and you connect into that energy. I think it's a beautiful story, what you and Deb went through. The whole thing, from the elephants to the way they care and they mourn, and they go to visit the elephant that died. It's just... Yeah. We look at things so differently. We've added so much garbage to everything,
And we tend to think in linear fashion, like say life starts and life ends. And I think it's sad people think that way, because really there is no death. Mm-hmm. And as we live our lives, there really is no life. We're kind of like in between. Mm-hmm. We're like half life, right now. Mm-hmm. We're not totally awake and alive. And when we close our eyes and our physical body has given up, we simply move on. Mm-hmm. And I think our connection with other animals, I think dogs and cats are like spirit, like angel messengers. I think they come here to help us and live with us, and I think they come back to us the same ones. Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
Oh, absolutely.
And connecting with them, connects us more with spirit. I mean, they have more soul than we do, because they live a more pure attachment to nature than we do. Mm-hmm. And as they live a closer relationship in nature, a natural life in the energy realm, they're closer to spirit than we are. We're very kind of removed from nature. We live in boxes. We shield ourselves from everything that is anywhere remotely natural. And the closest most of us get to understanding what is energy and what is spirit is in nature. It's there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything from the sun and the rain, giving energy for, plants to grow and things like that. I once had an oak tree in a house when I lived in Alabama, and they said, well, to put the house here, we have to take the oak tree down. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. Yeah. I had to go through the zoning and everything to have the house moved closer to the street, because I said, you're not taking the oak tree down. And my sons looked at the guy and said, no, you don't understand. She's not going to let you cut down this tree.
Well,
I promise you, it said, the tree is dead. And I said, no, the tree is not dead. They said, well, if we put the house here, because there are a lot of tornadoes in Alabama, he said, it's going to come through the house. I said, the tree and I have an understanding, and I'm telling you, no matter what storm we had, we were there for 7 years, a branch never hit that house.
Well, and the tree is never really dead. And
Mm-mm.
after it becomes part of your furniture,
Mm-hmm.
it's still a tree.
Yeah,
People don't get that.
yeah, they don't, but I do, and I think the way you think is wonderful. Now, the way you started the book, I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but I'm just so excited to talk to you, so I apologize. But you got a very special phone call at
Yeah.
your new job. Can you tell us
Yeah.
about that?
Well, for a while, for about 3 or 4 years, I worked at the national headquarters for the Theosophical Society just outside Chicago in Wheaton, Illinois, and I was up there in the publication building on the top floor, and it was really, really hot, and the sun just baked me. It was like southern windows.
Wow.
So let me say the philodendrons took over the room. They love that sun. But I started getting these phone calls. I hadn't been on the job very long. I was just up to my elbows in things to do, projects. But I get these phone calls, and this man, he sounded really old, and he was a little hard to understand. And the connection was not bad, but it was an odd connection. I don't know how to explain it. It was a funny sound to the phone. Now, we had landlines then, and he had an East Indian accent, and he sounded like maybe he was, he spoke like he was from India, and he sounded really, really old. And he kept telling me about, I want to take you, sir, on a lightning tour of India. I always do these in late August or early September. It's the best time to do it. And I take a group of people every year, and I want to invite you. And I said, well, that's very kind of you. I would love to go, but I'm really, really busy, and I can't take off, And he said, oh, well, I will call and ask you again. And I got to saying, who is this guy? He must have me confused with my predecessor, who was Pete Pedersen. Pete Pedersen kind of started the publication department, and he worked there for a long, long time until he could find a replacement. He recently died. He was like almost 100 himself. He was like a legend. But I kept getting these calls, and I had his phone in his desk, so I figured, he must be calling Pete. I said, he called again. He said, are you calling for Pete Pedersen? No, I am calling for you, sir, and I want to invite you on a tour of India. And he accused me the whole spiel again. I said, I'm so sorry, but you must have me confused with somebody, or else I don't know why you're calling me, but I must decline your exciting invitation. And so he calls me one more time, and he says, well, if you can't come, sir, then I must explain to you about meditating in the morning light. I said, oh? He said, I've written books on this subject, and I realized right away that I'm dealing with a Hindu yoga master,
Yeah.
And wow. And he says, I've written these books on meditation in the light, and it will change your life, sir. It will change your life forever if you learn to meditate in the morning light. He said, now, if you learn, you need the morning light, and you need to do it outside next to water, and it should be running water. And you can just sit next to a stream or the ocean or something. And I said, well, we have a pond in the back. It's still, but I can sit out there. He said, well, that you could try that. And so I did that. And he went on. He said, well, you must learn to meditate in the light. You must learn to live in the light. You must learn to move in the light, and you must be in the light. And I think what he didn't say, but I learned finally, was you become the light. Mm-hmm. That's who we are.
Right.
That's who we are. And so I did this, and those were really wonderful meditations. But then I got to thinking, who the heck? I said, no, this is crazy. So I went all around the building and the building across the street, and tried to see if somebody played a trick on me, because this can't be so. This man couldn't have called me. Why would he call me? And why would he tell me these things? No. I talked to the lady who did the incoming calls and would relay, switchboard. No, she said, no, I didn't relay it. He called you directly. He knew your extension. And I said, well, you must have known Pete Pedersen, right? Pete Pedersen doesn't know who he is. Pete Pedersen was still roaming in the building trying to look for volunteer work. And he didn't know who he was. So nobody knew who he was. And I realized that nobody, when I asked, smiled or blinked or anything, no telltale signs, no voice sounded like they could possibly have faked and sounded like this man. So then I got to thinking, golly, he wrote books on meditation. So I went into our bookstore, Quest Books, located the floor below us in the publication building, and I went to see Shirley Spears, the manager of the bookstore at that time, and I said, Shirley, I'm looking for books on meditation. I said, but I'm looking for like the real thing, I mean, written by people in India on meditation, really good books, but new converts in the United States that have discovered meditation, but real books on meditation. So he said, oh, they're all over there. So I walked over there in the corner, and face out in the corner is this book, and I pick it up, and it's like on display, and I turn it around, read the back, and it says this man was famous for leading lightning tours of India in the fall. And I said, holy cow!
Right.
And at the end it said, he wrote, he was a master of meditation in these tours, and he was and it said the year he was born, and then it said the year he died. It was 2 years before. So I was receiving spirit communications from this man, and why he calls me, I'm wondering. So a couple of years later, it all kind of made sense when this woman moved in and she was dying of cancer, and I started to tell her about moving in light, and I was going to introduce the book by talking about elephants and animals, because I love animals, so as you do. And then I thought I'd kind of get to it, but I hadn't really kind of, really worked my concept about. I'd done a lot of out-of-body travel, what we call astral projection. I'd done that, but I didn't really have the sense of the time travel. I hadn't really gone into that to the degree I have now. And it was before I wrote Perfect Timing, and certainly before I wrote 7 Secrets of Time Travel. So it was crazy that suddenly it occurred to me, my friend who was dying and in hospice, that those exercises would work for her.
It's amazing.
And I sat and I thought, wait a minute. I have the formula? Was it given to me a few years ago by this man?
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. It wasn't just for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing is just for you. It's all to be shared.
Right.
Everything we're given. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could adapt exercises based on these principles for my friend to give her a sense of walking and moving in the light, even though she's lying in a bed in a hospice.
And in pain. And she's in pain.
And in pain.
Right.
So I said, Deb, you can walk out of here. She looked at me. What are you talking about? She can't speak. She lost the ability to speak. She's really gone. And in the cold pizza and the coffee I bring mean nothing to her anymore. I bring her cat, and finally that doesn't mean anything. What can I do for her? And I said, you like Star Trek, right? Yeah. She looks at me and her eyes twinkle. She loves Star Trek. Mm-hmm. And I said, Deb, when they walk and when Scotty would beam somebody up, they would disappear and then they'd reappear somewhere else. I said, would you like to do that? She squeezed my hand. And I said, you can walk right out of here, and you don't need your legs. You don't need to leave this bed. You can just walk right out of here. You can go anywhere you want, as long as you want, whenever you want. Mm-hmm. We started these exercises, moving in the light. We had to get her the light from the window shining on her. That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And we did these exercises, and she got really, really good at it.
It's amazing. Good for her and good for you. And this man, this is, it's a phenomenal, it's just absolutely phenomenal, the story. But see, he reached out because I hear this time and time again. He reached out and connected with your energy because he knew you were going to do it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you were going to do something with it. And that is absolutely, it's magical. It's magical.
Every good teacher you're ever going to find is going to give you the great gifts like this. They'll give it to you freely and just here for the taking.
Right.
You know, people that spend all their life going to courses and getting certification and going through treatments, they're all going to get somewhere with a piece of paper. You know, it's like, wow, take up pottery, you know,
Yeah.
because the real magic in our lives is something that you have to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody can kind of take you partway there, but you have to be ready to take the journey yourself.
Right, right. And, you know, and we talk about all that all the time. I just did 2 interviews back to back with the same type of thing where we were talking about the energy of, say, a ghost. You know, that was once a human ghost. We're talking about humans who pass now that connect into the energy of a living person because they're both depressed, or they're both happy, or they're both this, or suicidal, or whatever. It's an energy, and the energies connect. And I think that's what happened with this man. He connected into your energy and said, you're going to do something with it. And he gave you this lovely way. I want everybody to remember the name of the book. It is Moving in the Light. And because, like I said at the beginning of this, I have an awful lot of people who are caretakers. I have a lot of friends who are in hospice. They caregive every day. All of them have beautiful, wonderful stories of how they've, you know, connected into energy, whether it be through Reiki or, you know, all these other wonderful things that they've found to help the dying and the living that they're leaving, you know, to help them move through all this. And I think it goes hand in hand when you start talking about ghosts, you talk about all of that, because everybody's interested in this because they want to know the big answer. You know, is there life after death? And, you know, does something go on? And I think that's the big connection to this, Vaughn. You know, that's why we're so interested.
Absolutely, there's life after death. There's nothing to be feared in death. It's sad because you leave people behind. But you know what? We're all going to meet up again. We all are, because we're all karmically connected to the ones we love and the ones we've known.
Correct. And you know this from doing, I know you're a reluctant ghost hunter.
Yeah, very reluctant. At
Very
this point,
reluctant.
you couldn't get me out and well, if you begged, I'd do it. But, you know, I don't want to do it.
But it was just mainly you got into it from, you've seen, you know, the ghost most of your life. And most of the time you just kind of like, you didn't ignore them, but you just let them go about their business and you went about yours, you know. And then you met Helen. Was it Helen you met first? Who kind of
Helen. Yeah, my teacher, Louis Gittner, bless his soul, great psychic and author. He said, you need to see Helen. You know, why? I said, Helen, I don't know. Helen said, I don't know, but Louis wants me to tell you about this. He says, what you do with it is up to you, you know. But Louis was one of those great teachers too. You know, he if you could find him, if you were ready for what he had, he would drop everything and talk to you as long as you wanted.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you know, Helen she called herself, what did she? She would de-ghost your house.
She de-ghosted houses. Yeah, and I said, well, I would like to have Helen's karma now, because it's like all her experiences were just lovely. You know, there were people that would be waiting with their coat, and they were a little bit unsure, should they get on the bus or not?
Right.
And they're just sitting there, and she'd sit with them, and she'd reason with them, and she'd encourage them, and then they go, because it's so natural.
Right.
But
but we have so much baggage, Vaughn. That's what holds people back. People ask me. I had a listener ask me one time, and she said, give me an ounce of ghost prevention. And I thought about it. It sounded funny, but basically what she was asking me was, I don't want to be a ghost. And I said, well, honey, get rid of all your earthly baggage now. Forgive those that, you know, need to be forgiven. Forgive yourself for the stuff you did. You know, don't leave anything, you know, behind. Just lighten up, you know.
Sure.
And that's kind of what you're talking about as far as being the light too, and being a part of that, you know, the lighter we are. And I know you were saying, you know, when you helped ghosts to cross over and stuff, if you can connect them, what I have found, because I've done it myself, and it's a lovely thing to be able to do, because I figure, gosh, if I was stuck, I'd want somebody to help me. you know. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a therapy kind of. You're talking to them and like, what
It
do you want to say?
It is therapy.
Yeah, what do you want to say? What do you want to do? But if you connect them into that love energy, I've done battlefield rescue, which
Yeah.
is one of the hardest things.
It's not unlike helping somebody in hospice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because it's like these are people that have walked through one doorway or they've fallen through one door. Let's be honest. And their heart no longer pumps, and their body's gone, and now they're there. It's like, but they won't move on. They won't open any doors. They won't move into the light. They don't bring the light. Moreover, we bring the light. I mean, this was the message that we learned in doing our exercises. You have light, but you also learn to control the light and radiate the light, and bring the light. And I started studying light, and like there's a lot of literature on light, and a lot of it has to do with angels and Gnostic writings, and the radiance of a pure light vessel. That's an angel.
Yes, and the vibration is so high. It's just unbelievable. It's so high. I mean, I've been around the very good and I've been around the very bad, and I'll tell you, I'd rather be with the good because the vibration is so high. I've got a teeny little story. You've given us so much, Vaughn, in your books and everything. I want to give you a little bit of this. My son, actually, it'll be a year at the end of July. So, I got that call at 2 a.m. in the morning. No mom wants to get, and he had been in a horrible car accident, and he was away in like 4 states, so it made it even worse to get to him. But I was there within probably 30-something hours, and I saw him in the ICU, and he was just a mess. He had a 15% chance of making it. And they don't tell you that on the phone. They don't tell you that.
No, they never tell you.
This young man was completely crushed, from one side. And they said, well, he doesn't know you're here, and, they give you the whole spiel. And I just looked at the nurse and I said, no, you don't understand, honey. I won't be leaving this room. He does know I'm here. And as long as I'm here, he will know someone loves him, and I'm going to sing him back. And they said, what do you mean sing him back? And I said, well, I'm native.
Right.
I'm native, and I'm going to sing him back. You watch this. And he was in ICU for 2 weeks, and I mean, you touch them, you hug, you squeeze their feet, you work their muscles, you just keep doing. Within 2 days, he was sitting up writing on a clipboard. The doctors couldn't believe it. And I said, look, this is energy. I said, there's people praying for him all over. I don't care if they were pagan, Wicca, native, you name it. Put energy out in his name. And my niece finally showed up, and she came in the room. I said, give me your hand. We're going to take all this energy that's been put out in his name. We're going to put it right on him. And I had no idea what I was doing, Vaughn, but it felt like the right thing to do. And you could feel that room, the vibration in that room was absolutely amazing. He went from 15% chance to an 85% chance. It's on medical records, and it happened right then.
Spirit spoke to you.
It was right there. And he walked out of that hospital.
Well, sound, it's true.
Energy.
I mean, you can sing somebody back from the abyss. It's like the song is very powerful. Chants are very powerful.
And we call it in Native. We also sing people over. It's all. If you look into the tribal. Like I said, I don't care where in the world. I don't care if it's Peru or India or here. They had so much less bulk, if you know what I mean. They just connected into that spiritual energy, and it's absolutely amazing, and it can be done now. Anybody who's ever walked into a mall and felt that. I can't go into a mall. It's just It's just a horrible energy. But you can go into a funeral home, Vaughn, and you don't feel that. Why?
No.
Because there's prayer, there's love, there's gathering, there's that vibration. I know it sounds so odd, but it's true.
No, I get that. In the mall, it's all these people saying, I want.
Yes.
And all the thought forms just bouncing off the wall.
Yes.
They're not directed in any good way.
Mm-hmm. I agree. 100%. I don't think I've been in a mall in maybe 15, 20 years. It's just too cumbersome.
Good for you.
It's
So
just,
I'm in Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and people come here and I say, "What do you want to do?" When they say Mall of America, I just go,
oh no.
I said, I'm gonna drop you off here and you have a good time and I'll pick you up at and then we're gonna go to the river and gonna go through the woods and we're gonna show you my Minnesota.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. I mean, yeah, my son tells me the same one I was talking about. We spent 2 hours swimming in the pool. That kid was doing laps. I mean, you can't tell me the energy doesn't. Yeah, it's amazing. And the hospital beds. It sounds so weird, but the hospital beds played music, and
Yeah.
I kept looking around for a way to play music because he's a musician. Music is so important, And if you want to know something in a hospital, you grab housekeeping and ask them. And she goes, well, the bed plays music, and it had nature sounds. And that was constantly playing. It had like the native flute music, and it had tree frogs and crickets and whales. It was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And the doctor came in and goes, what is that? And I said, well, it's the bed. And he couldn't believe it. He said, this is amazing, And he said, well, he's in a coma and you're reading to him. And I said, honey, I'm singing him. I'm singing him all his favorite songs. I'm 24/7, 24/7. And, anybody that's ever told that somebody in a coma or somebody like that doesn't hear you, don't you believe them? Don't you believe him? Because they do. They hear.
It's like when we're sleeping and part of your consciousness is still there. I mean, your unconsciousness is gone, but your part of your lower consciousness is always tuned in, which is why I suppose a lot of people think you can't really deeply meditate. But I don't know. I try to get people past that, because if you're going to do, this is kind of like, I guess the closest thing other than Native American spirit walking that I could think of would be like a samadhi mysticism.
Yes.
These are very deep, active meditations, and you need to completely turn off. And this is so hard for people. People keep looking at their palm for an answer. It's like the answer's not in your palm. It's not in your palm reader. It's not in your smartphone. It's not in your computer. It's like it's somewhere else. And we kind of, a lot of people today have kind of gotten away from this attachment to the world of spirit, which to me is the same as saying the world of nature. It's all the same. And I think that's, it makes it harder, but I think there's going to be a lesson. People are going to go so far down this road, and then they're going to have to turn around and come back part way because they missed a turn. I always tell everybody we're all on the same path. Some of us just get lost, and some of us sit and sleep, and some of us go in circles and walk backwards. But we're all going to go down there, and we all walk on. We all have to go this path alone. There's nobody can carry you.
Right. And you were saying that in another interview too, and I thought that very interesting, because you were saying once you cross, it's your light, and there's, kind of, you were saying doors, it's kind of a metaphor, but different.
Well, yes
different
and no.
Paths, yeah, different paths, and then kind of. I don't see, where am I going with this? The energy. It's all the energy. And it's almost like I've had people ask me, well, do you think, death, say if you're a Buddhist, when you cross, you get that. And, if you believe in Christ, do you see him? If you, angels, loved ones, this.
You all see what you want. Because we that is your reality. You create your own moving reality.
Yes, that's it. It's as individual as the individual,
Absolutely.
And I had an elder tell me one time, some of the wisest things I've ever heard was from elders sitting around the powwow circle or whatever, and we were talking about religion, and he looked at me and he said, I don't know why people get so hung up on what path they take. We're all going to the same place.
Yes. And they have a rendezvous with destiny, like the poet says. And you can procrastinate, but and you can get sidelined. Some of us do for probably several lifetimes. But as long as you are close to being on cue for your own life mission, whatever that is, your life path, you're making some progress on that life path, you will continue most likely to live a physical life.
Mm-hmm.
It's only those people that have given up or they've lost their way and they no longer. I talk to old people, and it's like they still have some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
They know they're making progress down the road.
Right. And it might be something that's so little to us as an individual, but it might have a ripple effect, like a pebble in a lake, or a pond, and you don't know where those ripples are going to go, because we're all connected. We're all connected.
Yeah, we're all connected, and the journey is everything. The destination is going to be fun, whatever that is. I don't think we're ever going to get there, but you know what? It's the journey.
The journey.
Everything, and what you see along the way, what you learn along the way, and how you grow in being on the path. That is it.
Absolutely. And we never know how we touch another's life. Like I said, I get teased all the time about how much time I spend helping these animals, and I'm thinking, well,
oh gosh,
I'll tell you right now, at least I won't be alone on the other side, because I'm going to have every animal that I ever helped. It sounds so silly, but it's so true.
I have the same wish. It's like, that's the first thing I want to do. It's like, oh, you want to see all your relatives and friends? Yeah, but I know they're doing okay. But I had a special bond with a lot of animals that I worked with.
Yes, so
and
true.
I want to see that. Yep.
And when they look at you, I mean, gosh, there's just been so many, and I'm just, basically I'm hugging the animal because I'm hugging myself too. Because I'm going to get that back one way or another. I get it back every day, and it's just amazing. And it's a purpose. It's a purpose. We've done something to help nature along the way, and help us, and help the earth, and that's the whole native thing, But, you were saying something too about, whether you're helping a human ghost cross and find its path again.
Yeah.
It's almost like when I said, we're singing them over. Yeah. It's the same thing, because you basically are getting them to turn around and look toward that light, and they don't realize that the light is also coming from them.
That's right.
It's coming from them as well. And you were saying that the white light is not just white light; it's just such an abundant white light. It has all the colors in it, but we just cannot even see. It's
the light that comes out from the sun really has all the green colors of the rainbow. But I'm not saying that's all the colors there are. It's the colors we perceive. So those are our functional colors.
Right.
And it's like every one of those colors has a huge meaning to us. They're incorporated. And I think that every one of those colors correspond to an aspect of our being, and it corresponds to when you walk through the doorways. You walk through the doorways, you're really walking into planes of reality. There are levels of reality. You go into the mental world. We go into the causal world of intuition and insight. We can go into the world of what they call it, the Buddhic world, where you have a sense of bliss and you have a sense of self realization. You can reach a level of, there's all these different levels, and you learn to control the light in you, and you learn to not only hold the light in you, but transform it and project it. And there's all kinds of ways we can project it. I mean, we're not angels, but we can certainly. I'm certainly not an angel, but maybe you are, Cisco. but I try to actually build the light within me, and you can build the light within you. You can build the energy within you, and you hold the light, and you focus on the light. And there are certain exercises that I've come up with, kind of based on what the man told me, and you can actually begin to. The body is an amazing thing. We can absorb and process light and transfer light, but we're also like dynamos of energy, because we can take this energy and rechannel it. We can rechannel the energy, and we can rechannel it in so many ways for others, for ourselves. You can do self-healing. You can heal others. You can send thoughts that are powerful. And you can also use the light to walk into those other planes of existence. So that all becomes very powerful. And if a person learns this level of, I call them like mastery of light, of time and space, then you can you can actually, you will never be an earthbound spirit, and you yes, you're on the wheel of 84 or however you want to say. You're going to reincarnate and all of that, and that's just karmic destiny for all of us. But I think there are people here that have died, and they do kind of linger around, and they do it by their own choosing.
Mm-hmm.
They're not lost or confused as they once thought in writing Reluctant Ghost Hunter. They're not scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're not baffled. They're not embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
They just, a lot of people when their friends and relatives die, they'll be visited. My pets always visit me when they die.
Yes.
But they stay around for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "No, I just lost a cat. I swear to you, this cat is still here. He's been here for two months now, but he'll go
Mm-hmm.
because he knows how to walk in time and space."
Mm-hmm.
So I think that he's going to be just fine. But there are also people that are helpers
Mm-hmm.
that have this kind of level of energy mastery,
Mm-hmm.
and they've learned to master time and space, and
Mm-hmm.
and they can work from the other side, if you will, the spirit
Mm-hmm.
realm. And I know that they'll eventually reincarnate, but I think they can stay a day or two longer at the fair than the rest of us, because they know how to get around.
And I've had plenty that I have been just so, I'm looking for the right word. I'm going to say, fortunate to have witnessed different stages, like with my loved ones, through this, and, watching, as my mother stayed with me because I was a young child when she died, and, the way she watched over, me, but she was basically in her death state. She still looked like she did when she passed. And then I sat down, I had a long conversation with her and said, I'm going to be fine. You need to cross over. You need to go because I don't want you stuck. Didn't see her for a while, and then she came back and did a visitation, and she was completely healed. She didn't have those earthly burdens anymore. She was, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And then I watched her turn into this amazing energy worker. I've never seen anything like it. She's just amazing. And anytime I talk to anybody with any ability, it's say, your mom's here and she just saw you do this, and she says, good to, you're that a girl. You're doing so good with this, or you're doing so good with that. And then I've watched others, such as my dad, who was not, he was what I call a terrific rock. You can't blame a rock for being a rock. You can hope it's a tree, but it's going to be a rock. He was just that kind of guy. He had his own karmic thing. And he seemed to have more trouble when he got to the other side. He had to work through, I guess, all of the damage he caused and everything. But you know what I did, Vaughn? I did a little experiment. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really an experiment. It was something I knew was going to work. I figured nobody else is sending him good thoughts and energy. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Good.
And over 3 to 4 years, when he would show up, like if I went to go see a medium or have friends that are mediums, and they say, well, there's a guy here. And I'm like, what is he? Yada, yada. He was eventually able to lift his head up. He couldn't even speak for about 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. And then he was able to actually say a couple of sentences, and I said, I guess you're getting the energy I'm sending you. And he said, yes, it's helping. So you can't tell me that energy doesn't mean more than we'll ever be able to fathom or put into a sentence. It's just, you connect with the love energy. Right now, she knows I'm talking about her. He knows I'm talking about, because we're connected to that energy. And I think that's a little bit about what, let's say, the other side of the gate is, because if you connect into it and your thought patterns, does that make any sense to you?
Oh yeah, and I think it's so good to learn to do this while you're here in a physical life, mm-hmm. because it makes that transition to the next stage so much easier.
Right.
So much easier. You need to practice. We need to practice right now for our eventual demise. Every one of us is like grocery boxes with invisible expiration dates on our forehead.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, folks. It's like one day the engine doesn't start and the transmission doesn't work, and it's got to move on to another car. And that's the way it is with us. We're going to have to move on. And that's not the end of anything. It's just transition.
Right.
Everything is transition.
We weren't scared when we were born.
No.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. I really believe in soul groups. I believe in a connection and the whole thing of coming back and we're going to help you this time. I don't know how many times I've told people that I love, look, I've already forgiven you for this. Apparently we've come down here to learn this. So I'm going to go ahead and, I already said I would forgive you. So I can't be mad, but whatever this lesson is, let's just get through this.
And don't you think, too, Cisco, that we keep bumping into people with problems, keep bumping into them until we resolve the problem. And it's not going to get any better next time round. It's not going to get any better. You keep doing it until you deal with it. That's karma.
That's karma. And that in this lifetime, I've honestly looked at, like I said, with my dad, why should I be mad at him for being the person he was? He was the person he was. If he wasn't, if he didn't pick a great woman, I wouldn't be here. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
You just got to let people, I think we get into this, like where we see people and we can fix them, it's not our job to do that.
No, it's their job to fix them.
So that's,
you can help a little bit, but it's their job to fix themselves.
Yeah, and that's just, that's just the way it is, and we see our kids going through this and I'm like, okay, it's the journey. It's what you're learning along the way, and, try not to get so caught up into this. I don't know how we got into this whole thing, Vaughn, where it's all about we are what we drive, we are where we live, we are what we wear, we are what we, that's not us at all. Stop.
Yeah, it's not us
We got to
at
stop
all.
doing that. We got to stop doing that. It's all about our character and what kind of people we are on the inside. And
these are not anything that's going to occur to you when you're on your deathbed.
Sure.
What kind of car you drove.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. Call that person that you want to talk to now. Tell them how you feel. Tell them it doesn't matter, because that energy, that regret, that forgiveness. How many ghosts do we know on have stuck around because they're looking for that forgiveness or whatever? How many? You know?
Just forgive them right now on the spot.
Absolutely.
It's like they're human just like you. Usually we criticize people for things we hate in ourselves, but we won't recognize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get so caught up and tangled up in that, and if people did that, you and I'd be out of a job.
Oh, I've been trying to get out of a job. People say, you got to write another book. I said, no, I don't want to write another book.
Right.
Then I lie in bed, and then it writes itself in my head, and I have to get up and do it.
I know. Me too. I've been working on one for a while, and I called it, We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife, because it's like the great frontier. It's the last frontier, right?
Yeah.
And we're all children. So if we think,
we're children.
Doesn't that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I just feel good about that title, because that's just how it is, If people weren't interested, I wouldn't have a show. The books that you read, we're all looking for those answers, and I think they're immensely complicated, but at the same time so simplistic. And that's
I love animals too, Cisco, and one of the things that just bugs me is how we think we can engineer the balance of life.
Mm-hmm.
How many deer there are, how many wolves there are, how many polar bears there are, how many foxes there are, how many people there are. Oh, as many as you want.
Mm-hmm.
And and how many bees there are. And it's like, so I wrote a science fiction book, and I just finished it. It's called Game Management, Search for a New Utopia. And people come from another planet and they say, oh no, this is all out of balance. There are these little people that live here, run around in these little metal boxes all day, and they live in these funny little buildings. They look at us like we're crazy. Mm-hmm. There's just so many of them. There's just way too many of them. We have to relocate them. And they start relocating. It's just the way a game warden here would say,
yes.
There's too many foxes. We're going to start relocating. And we haven't a clue how the balance of nature is. it all is some divine plan that everybody works out collectively. We can't make these life or death decisions with other people or other animals. It's all up to them.
Yeah, and it burns me up too that we think we can do it better when we start trying to cross these animals and stuff. I used to work for a huge animal pet store chain. And I'd watch these little dogs coming in. It's this breed. It's this breed. And I'm like, it can't breathe. We've got to stop because we've pushed its face in, or we've elongated its back, and now it's got back problems, or we've done this, and we've done that. What are we doing?
We're making funny little toys that suffer just because we want them to fit in our house conveniently and look pretty.
Or we want a hairless cat. Or now they've got the cats with the short legs. Now they can't jump.
That's awful.
What are we doing? And I look outside and I think of the balance outside. Everything out in my woods. I'm looking into the woods right now. Everything out there works just fine without me. Just fine. There was something keeps telling me to tell you this, so I'm just going to tell you. The other day, I saw a little video. You're going to have to Google it and watch this. It was absolutely amazing. It was a woman found a bee, and the bee didn't have wings.
Ooh.
So she adopted, had some kind of a disease where it didn't have wings, and she noticed it ruffling around in the flowers, and she decided to bring it in and went and bought it flowers and bought it a little thing. This bee lived, I know, but this bee lived with her. She makes me look completely sane, because when you're watching this, you're thinking, oh my gosh, but I'm thinking, how cool is this? That she brought this bee in.
That's amazing.
Now this bee started to trust her, and she'd put out her hand to crawl up in her hand. It would curl up in her hand, and she could put it on her. It was absolutely an amazing story, and it goes all the way through to the point where the bee finally, its life ended, but it lived quite a long time with her. And I'm thinking, that little bee knew that woman. It trusted that woman. Now, if an insect can have that kind of connection, like something like that, we'd smack it and move on without thinking twice, walk away.
Yeah. Why do we do that? Because we can learn so much from insects.
Right.
They adapt so quickly.
Yeah. Well, just Google it, and you'll wind up in tears like I did, but over this bee.
Yeah.
But
my favorite is Nora, the piano playing cat. I love Nora.
I'll have to look that one up.
I want to go to a concert.
Oh, wow.
But she really plays.
That is amazing.
She learned how to.
You can watch these animals forever. You say you've got one that's come to you. We just had to put one down, a poor little Simon. He had a stroke, and I had to take him, and we played music, and we, just loved him right over. Just, it was horrible and beautiful at the same time. But it was needed to be done. The poor thing was in pain, and he knew it. He put his little paw in my hand, and he looked at me, and he knew. But now he came, and he walked. I could. The pitter-pat of his little feet walking across the bed, and I knew he was going to come and stay for a little bit. His sister used to always sleep under the bed. They were been inseparable since they were born, and she was still in the room, and she went through a couple of days of trying to figure out what was happening. Well, we got his ashes back, and they beautiful little box, and I put it on the dresser with a rose, and it was on top of my dresser. Now his sister no longer sleeps under the bed. She sleeps at as close as she can possibly get to that box on the floor. She sleeps in front of that dresser, as close to him as she can get. Now, you tell me animals don't know.
Oh, they do. They do. I mean, I've had cats and dogs. They would sleep over the gravesite of their friends.
Yes,
they know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just a beautiful thing. Like we said, watching them, we can learn so much. And, they don't have any of these problems with regret and, jealousy and this and that. They're just such spiritual creatures. And I don't think they have the problem crossing that we do, if you know what I mean.
I don't think there's any difference either. I think they have a soul just as as we do. And I know some people say, oh, they have a group soul, or they have something like a soul. No, folks, it's like the same. It's just like us. It's like us.
And and it's almost like they're here to teach us the unconditional love.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and forgiveness and things like
Yep.
that. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It
It is.
really,
It is.
really is,
Pe-
and
People should run out to the pet shelter and get 2 dogs and 2 cats immediately.
immediately. That's
Immediately.
that's our recommendation. That's a prescription for everybody listening. Go out
Yep.
immediately, because
Yep.
that's the truth. It shows us so much.
Yep.
And I've never seen one yet have a problem or get stuck. Now I've seen on battlefields, I've seen imprints or whatever you want to call them, residuals and things like that of horses running and
Yeah.
things like that. But I think that's more of an imprint. I don't.
Yeah. There are these imprints, these historic imprints, the recurring things.
Yes. Now here's another thing that I've seen on battlefields, and you might find this very interesting. I'd love to hear your take on this. I have a friend. I myself am drawn to Gettysburg, and it's such a pull. Now, I am right here. I could walk 2 miles and walk into a Revolutionary battlefield in one direction.
Really?
Well, I'm in New Jersey. So
Okay.
I've got all the Revolutionary battlefields around me. I'm very close to Fort Monmouth and Molly Pitcher and all that good stuff all around me. But I'm not feeling the draw. I feel the heaviness of the battle. I feel all of that residual oppressive, energy. But I'm not feeling the pull I feel to go to Gettysburg. So
I don't think they're like ghosts. I think there's something else.
Yeah, it's just the land remembers. It's just the way it is. The land remembers. But I got this pull to Gettysburg. So I asked this friend of mine, and we were talking about it. Now, what happened with him was he got on the battlefield, and the minute he was drawn to this one section of Gettysburg, and he does battlefield rescue. He'll go in. He's just drawn to do it, to try to get people to understand and cross, and come out of the loop or whatever, to the ones that'll listen, to the intelligent ones that'll listen.
Yeah.
He got more response. It said like it came right to him, and they kept calling him by this name. And finally, he went through the whole thing. He had to go back a couple of days. He got them to cross, and he starts researching because he kept having all these pains when he was on the battlefield. Now, this took a little while, but by the time the end of the story was, he researched it and found out that the name that they had been calling him, he found that name. He found that person. It was a captain. He died on that battlefield. And the wounds that he was feeling and the pain that he was feeling matched the wounds that they said that this guy died at. And he talked to somebody who said, you probably were reincarnated. This was you. And the reason you had that pull to go back there is because you left your friends behind and they recognized your soul.
Yeah.
Wow.
That seems reasonable.
Doesn't it seem reasonable? I find that amazingly wonderful.
Yeah.
I think if we, I totally believe in reincarnation. Absolutely. One shot at this? Nah. It doesn't make any sense.
It might not be exactly the way some people think of it, but there's something like reincarnation at work.
Absolutely. I mean, isn't that amazing, though? That, it would make sense if we're energy, that it could recognize a soul because it's the same.
Oh, sure.
Oh, it's amazing.
Energy.
It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Light has recognition. It doesn't stop until it reaches some place.
Right.
So if we move in the light, that's exactly where we're going to go. And follow the light to where it needs to go. The light knows where it needs to go.
Right.
It's incredible. It always reaches the plants, doesn't it? Yeah. It's just amazing. Yeah.
But aren't we, if we look at our makeup, I mean, don't we really come from, light, and we really come from, we're stardust, We are
light, yes.
It's just
Absolutely.
amazing. It like you said in the beginning, it's so magical. It really is all around us. I think it's probably why Disney is so doggone popular, because we just keep trying to search for the magic, and we're looking in all the wrong spots.
Oh, Disney is all about transformation. Yeah, you think about it.
It's all about imagination and just the magic of it all. And I've always just believed the magic is all around. I mean, gosh, when you're talking about somebody you love, and at that particular point in time, a butterfly comes and lands on your knee and lingers there for a while.
That's it.
That's pretty magical,
That is.
It
That is.
is. It's beautiful, Vaughn. And all the books you're writing. I mean, perfect timing and natural pet healing and a magical journal, and just they're all just so wonderful. And I can't thank you enough for putting them out there.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. Where can we get in touch with you if people want to find your books? I'm guessing Amazon and do you have a website?
Amazon.com. Yeah, the publisher I went with a small publisher at this time in California called Shanti. Shanti is a very special name in Hindu literature. A place of centering and bliss, and Shanti Publishing doesn't have a lot of bookstore presence, but go to Amazon.com.
Okay.
It's always there. Always there.
Okay, and you can get the books there. Now, do you have a website or anything like that, or you just...
Yeah. Well, I have Facebook.com/V Braschler.
Okay.
All I have, all the pictures of the birds and the wild critters that I feed, all the little chipmunks and squirrels and deer that are in my world. And, I love the chippies. The chippies are just priceless.
Oh gosh, I have in my backyard the chipmunk. I'm here to tell you, Freddie the chipmunk. He is so rotten spoiled. He knows I'm up before I do. I go out to the back door and he is there for a peanut. And boy, he has a thing where he rides around. I have all these gargoyles in my backyard in the grass and in the flowers and just, pretty little, figurines and stuff. He'll ride on everyone. He rides on the head of the Buddha. He'll ride on he owns the backyard.
And I have 6 really large crows that come and visit.
Do you?
And Earl the squirrel is friends with the crows. It's the darndest thing.
You have got to come to my Facebook. People put stuff on Facebook all the time. You're not going to get anything but cat pictures and pictures of my raven. I have a raven named Harrison who lives in my backyard. He follows me to the grocery store. He about scared the lady at the I had no idea they did this. Apparently corvids, like blue jays and crows and ravens, they have facial recognition.
Oh, they're incredible. And they can also learn to mimic voices and sounds.
Yes.
They're very smart. And once you're nice to them, they will check on you all the time, worry about you. And once you're mean to them, they'll follow you.
Oh, yeah. And they will. They will. And isn't it interesting the names they have for, a murder of crows and all that? It's just crazy. Well, Harrison doesn't let anybody bother the little chipmunks. We have a nest of eagles in the cell tower. Isn't that sad that they have to live in a cell tower?
Oh, that is sad.
But we have the eagles there, and we have the red-tailed hawks and stuff, and they're not allowed in my yard. Harrison is not having it because all the little chipmunks are run free and the squirrels and stuff. But it's so funny. Yeah. It's so funny, I mean, he about scared the lady at the we were at the Lowe's in the outside garden department, and we were buying some flowers to plant. And I said, that sounds like Harry. And my son says, you got to be crazy. We're less than a mile away. And I said, that sounds like Harry. He says, Mom, it can't be. And boy, if he didn't land on the outside fence about 2 feet from the cashier, she about dropped everything in her hand. And I just looked at him. I said, Harry, I'll be home in a minute. Go home, and I'll make you a sandwich. And she just looked at me like I was crazy. And it was so. It was him. It was him.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's so nuts, but gosh, what a wonderful world we live in if we look in all the right places, Vaughn. And you help us look in all the right places. So I thank you so much for being here tonight. And the story about Deb is absolutely a beautiful one. And I just implore all of my caregivers and hospice workers and everybody who's listening, please get the book and read it in detail about walking in the light, because Vaughn will absolutely back me up on this. The light is within us as well. If not, then they wouldn't say put yourself in that white protection bubble of light, and all these things work. And it's just such a lovely way to live, Vaughn. And I can't thank you enough for being with me tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, great. I hope it won't be your last time. You're coming back, right, Vaughn?
Oh, sure. Sure. I'm working on thought forms and creative visualization next.
Oh, wow. Okay, how do you feel about tulpas?
Tulpas?
Tulpas, thought forms that we can
Oh, thought
actually.
forms. Yeah, 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 yeah. Right.
Oh, wow. Isn't that an interesting
Uh-huh.
subject?
Uh-huh.
Such
Oh,
an
yeah.
We'll have to get you back on to talk about that.
Great.
Oh, Vaughn, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for making my evening.
Thank you, Cisco. Take care.
Oh, you too, honey. You too. Well, listeners, I thank you again for coming on this side of the gate, and I thank Mr. Von Braschler for coming in and sharing this time with us. And if you have your own story, please visit us at journeythroughthegate@gmail.com and send in your story, and I'll either read it for you or you can be part of our listeners' show. And if you would like to be part of our discussion group on Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal Podcast Gatekeepers, please join us there. And as always, keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut, because there are things that go bump